Thank you, President. Minister, National Cabinet was weeks ago. It only had one outcome that the Prime Minister has spoken about, which is the introduction of a new database to record incidents of anti-Semitism. Are you seriously saying you do not know whether or not it has been established? And if it has been established, how many incidents has it recorded?
I don't have that to hand. Hopefully I will have.
The Minister has not even pretended to try and answer the question.
You know, the most important, the investigation that we should engage in, an investigation is to your motives. Because we know, Senator Patterson, that what you and your leader have been interested in is playing politics with this and getting the grab up on television. We all understand
President, my question is to the Minister representing the Prime Minister, Senator Wong. On the 21st of January, National Cabinet agreed to establish a new national database to record anti-Semitic crime and other anti-Semitic incidents. Minister, has the database been established, and if so, how many incidents of anti-Semitism has it recorded so far?
Thank you, Senator Patterson. Minister Wong.
Thank you, President. Thank you to Senator Patterson for the question, and I will obtain further information about the specific measure that you're talking about and the recording of any incidents. I don't have that to hand. Hopefully I will have. Well, Senator, I don't have to hand a specific question about the recording of anti-Semitic incidents on a particular database. What I can say to you, Senator Patterson, is that the government, I hope the whole parliament, recognises the unprecedented rise in anti-Semitism we've seen in this country, recognises our collective responsibility to stand against it, recognises the importance of ensuring that police, national security agencies are able to do their work, that those who are responsible for this are apprehended, all are apprehended and face the full force of the law.
President, a point of order on direct relevance. The Minister has not even pretended to try and answer the question about whether National Cabinet was briefed and who knew.
Minister Wong.
This is an ongoing investigation. I refer to my previous answers. But you know, the most important, the investigation that we should engage in, an investigation is to your motives. Because we know, Senator Patterson, that what you and your leader have been interested in is playing politics with this and getting the grab up on television. We all understand that.
Mate, buckle up, because what went down in Parliament today wasn't just a stumble or a slip-up or even your run-of-the-mill political waffle. Nah. This was a full-blown, slow-motion, nationally televised faceplant, the kind that makes you sit forward on the couch, grip the armrest, and go, "Oh mate, that's gonna leave a mark." Because Senator Penny Wong didn't just get caught out, she got absolutely blindsided, humiliated live, with one question she either couldn't answer or desperately didn't want to. And while she was trying to talk her way out of it, Anthony Albanese was practically combusting in the background, looking like a bloke who's just realized the barbecue gas bottle wasn't screwed in properly. This is the political circus in full technicolor, and you're about to get the whole blow by blow in the most gloriously chaotic Aussie fashion possible. Right before we dive into Penny Wong getting roasted live and Albo losing the plot, do me a favor, hit like, hit subscribe, and snag the not far right just right shirt in the description. You know those moments when you're watching a mate trying to explain why your car's missing a tire, and they start with, "Look, it's complicated," before somehow blaming birds, potholes, and the price of avocados? That's the energy Penny Wong brought to the Senate floor. Because Senator James Patterson, cool, calm, and carrying the energy of a bloke who knew he'd loaded the trap the night before, stood up and fired off a question so basic, so straightforward, so unbelievably answerable that the entire chamber felt the temperature drop. He didn't ask for nuclear codes. He didn't ask for the secret herbs and spices. He just asked, has the National Anti-Semitism Database been established, and if so, how many incidents has it recorded? Mate, that's it. That's the whole thing. That's the question that sent the government into a full nervous breakdown. And Wong, normally cool as a cucumber wrapped in a silk scarf, stood up and unleashed the triple thank you like she was stalling for time while waiting for the Wi-Fi to reconnect. Thank you, President. Thank you, Senator Patterson. Thank you again. By the second thank you, everyone watching knew something was off. By the third one, you could practically hear staffers backstage Googling how to set up a database in under 5 minutes. Then she delivered the line of the day. The one that politicians reach for like it's printed on the back of their business cards. I don't have that to hand. Mate, if she'd said, my dog ate the homework, it would have sounded more convincing. This wasn't a misplaced stapler. This wasn't a memo she forgot to bring. This was the only tangible result the Prime Minister bragged about from National Cabinet. Albanese could have walked out of that meeting with a fridge magnet and a handshake, and it would have been the same. The one deliverable, the one thing they promised, was the creation of this database. And Wong stood there like someone being asked where they parked the car, only to realize they caught the bus. Patterson wasn't having it. You could see it on his face. He stood up again with the tone of a bloke who'd just been told the tradie would swing by sometime between 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. He went right back in, reminding her that National Cabinet was 2 bloody weeks ago, not 2 centuries. The Prime Minister himself had said, proudly, smugly, triumphantly, that the database was the big takeaway from the meeting. And Wong? She doubled down on the fluff. She tried to pivot into a speech about anti-Semitism in Australia, the responsibility of Parliament, the importance of standing united. Very noble. Very serious. Very irrelevant. It was like asking someone if the kettle is boiled and them replying with a TED talk on the history of tea. Patterson got up again, 3rd time at bat, and at that point he sounded less like a senator and more like a furious dad asking why the backyard shed is on fire. He tried to pin down whether National Cabinet had even been briefed on a high-profile security incident. And that's when Wong cracked. She fired back with the political equivalent of, no, why oh you're the problem, accusing the opposition of wanting TV grabs. And mate, look, accusing the other side of playing politics during question time is like accusing magpies of swooping during spring. It's baked into the ecosystem. But Wong wasn't answering the question, not even pretending to. The chamber erupted. Points of order everywhere. Senators popping up like meerkats every 2 seconds. And the president, poor bastard, was doing everything short of ringing a school bell to restore order. It looked like the world's worst episode of Rage in the Cage. Canberra edition. But underneath all the shouting, all the theatre, all the political chest thumping, there was one brutal, unavoidable, painfully obvious truth. The government could not answer the simplest question about its own policy. And that's when Albanese started going haywire, not physically, not in front of the camera, but you could see it in the tension, the whispers, the visible frustration. The Prime Minister hates being caught off guard. He hates being exposed on process. And above all, he hates when the thing he publicly boasted about turns out to be as real as a unicorn in high vis. Because if the database exists, they should know. If the database doesn't exist, they're busted. And if they don't know whether it exists, that is somehow even worse. That means something went wrong behind the scenes, someone dropped the ball, or nobody followed up, or the whole thing was a headline-friendly PR move with zero substance behind it. And mate, Australians can cop a lot. We can cop cocky politicians, we can cop bureaucratic delays, we can even cop the occasional dodgy rollout. But what we cannot cop is the feeling that the people in charge have no idea what they're doing while pretending everything's fine. Wong tried to shield herself behind the phrase, ongoing investigation. A classic. Safe. Reliable. The politician's version of saying, my phone died. But even that didn't land, because Patterson wasn't asking about operational details. He wasn't asking for classified info. He was asking whether the database exists, yes or no. That's not a national security threat. That's not sensitive intelligence. That's not something undercover agents are whispering about in dark alleys. That's a simple administrative fact. Yet Wong stood there dodging like she was in the final round of an NRL sidestep competition. The whole chamber felt the tension. You could see eyebrows rising. You could hear the murmurs. Even senators who normally sit silent looked like they were about to tap someone on the shoulder and whisper, mate, this is not good. And that's where the humiliation came in. Not because Wong panicked, not because she stalled, but because the more she dodged, the more obvious it became that she didn't have the answer. And in Parliament, that's blood in the water. Patterson smelled it. The opposition smelled it. The media smelled it. And Albanese, sitting nearby, knew exactly what was happening. Every second of silence, every vague phrase, every "I'll seek further information" was political shrapnel floating around the chamber. You could see the PM's frustration, the tightening jaw, the stiff posture, the look of a bloke who thought he'd nailed a political win, only to watch it fall apart under the first real question. By the time the shouting died down and Wong sat back down, the damage was done. Not because of her tone, not because of her pivoting, but because she couldn't give the one answer Australians were waiting for. And here's the kicker. Australians watching at home know this game. They've seen it 1,000 times. But this time felt different, sharper, more embarrassing, more revealing. It wasn't theatre. It wasn't bravado. It was a simple test the government should have passed with flying colours, but instead they tripped, rolled, and fell flat on their face. And when a government can't answer basic questions about its own decisions, people start asking the bigger, uglier questions, the ones that governments hate. By the end of question time, the whole thing felt like a political magic trick where the rabbit never shows up. Everyone's staring at the empty hat, waiting for someone, anyone, to explain where the hell the rabbit went. But Wong never answered. Albanese never jumped in. The government never clarified. So the humiliation stuck. Because in politics, silence isn't neutral. Silence screams. And today, it screamed across the entire chamber. So here we are, mate, watching a government scramble, a minister flounder, and a prime minister silently fuming as one question exposes a gaping hole in their story. Penny Wong humiliated in real time. Albanese going haywire behind the scenes. And the simplest question in Parliament still hanging in the air like a bad smell. Because until they admit what's going on, Australians at home will keep asking the same thing. If the government can't answer whether the database even exists, what else don't they know? And that, mate, that's the real drama. So smash that like button if you reckon Australia deserves better, and subscribe if you're sick of leaders dodging responsibility. And don't forget to grab the Not Far Right Just Right shirt, links in the description.